what is your story? And why do you make the decisions that you do? What we know is all of our decisions are based on childhood experiences, and they could be as simple as the food that we like. When I was 13, I lost my mum. It happened really quick. It wasn't something that there was a lead up to. It was like the flick of a switch. Everything changed from that moment on. So I moved from kind of a London suburb to a very rural Lincolnshire. My routine completely changed, so the food I ate, the friends I had, and even the pets that I lived with. I now know as an adult that every decision I've ever made in my life has been based on that very point in time that happened when I was 13. I'd like you all to think about a moment that happened when you were between the ages of 13 to 18. And it can be something really simple. I'm not asking you to kind of delve really deep and find something really hard to think about. But what I can definitely say is you definitely thought you knew what you were doing. You definitely thought that you could conquer the world. As children, we are taught safety messages. We're taught to wear a helmet when we ride a bike. We're taught not to put our hand in the fire. We're taught to look both ways when we cross the road. We think that these messages are all the same. We think that through parenting, through schooling, everybody gets the same messages. But what about faced with the here and now when we're in risk and danger and actually we can't make our brain work in a logical way to find that decision? Society expects that we will know what we're going to do. Knife crime is different. I hear comments like, they should have known better. They should have empathy. They should have known what could have happened. I'd like you to imagine you're going out one day, and actually you can put yourself back to that age that I asked you to think about earlier. But you're going out, you've arranged to meet a friend, and you're walking down a busy street. And you're thinking about, have I eaten breakfast? What might I eat later? Or actually, am I going to eat later? You're thinking about what I'm wearing. Is that person judging me? Actually, that person that just walked past me, are they angry with me? Sad? Happy? You can insert any emotion there, actually. They all work. And then somebody barges into our shoulder, and we fall to the floor. What are you then going to do? This time, I'm not going to rerun the scenario, but I want you to imagine you've got a knife in your pocket. You've got a knife in your pocket because actually, social media is telling you that everybody in your community is carrying a knife. Social media is telling you that actually we've seized loads of knives from this area, in this place. So actually you think, oh my goodness, there's loads of knives out there. Maybe I do need one. Or maybe it's just that you've recently got some strong friendships, some really strong kind of people that mean everything in your world, and they've told you you should be carrying a knife. So you carry one. Or actually, let's have a look at a real innocent one. You are giving a knife as a coming-of-age present. And you think, do you know what? Now is the time I'm going to go and show my friend. I'm not going to get it out, because it's just a present. Why would I do that? But actually, I've got it in my pocket, and I'm going to carry it down the road. Now someone knocks into your shoulder, and you fall to the floor. Now what are you going to do? What we know is the next is impossible to know. We can all sit here and go, I would definitely do this. I've done it myself. I would definitely make that decision in that moment in time. But that fight and freeze response that happens in our brains, and then let's add in some kind of additional trauma. Let's add in some, previous experiences. Let's add in those kind of really serious messages that you've heard from the people that are really important in your world. And then you're going to react. And you've got to think about that adrenaline hit as well that also happens in kind of those teenagers' brains, that risk. Let's take that risk. What I can tell you is society reacts to knife violence or serious violence. We look after young people when they're on the path of criminality, when they're already going down that path into the criminal justice system. I think it's because it's the easy option. It's very easy to work with 50 young people than it is to work with thousands of young people. It's very easy to collate the data. It's very easy to survey 50 young people and then work with them going forward to try and make a change. But why can't we work with thousands? We haven't got away from that 1978 scared straight thinking, where effectively we used to take children that were going on the path of criminality and we used to lock them in the prison service, or we used to take them to cells, and we'd lock them in a cell and we'd say, do this, carry on doing kind of what you're doing, and this is what your end point will be. It's really punitive. And actually, all of that thinking and all of that education around that is about do this and you'll do that and you'll die. Take this and this will happen. Do this and you won't get a job when you're older. But I would argue, kids know. For any young people in the audience or people who live with young people, they have something at the end of their arm. I can say that because I've got 3 teenagers at home and it's strapped to their hands at all times. And actually, they don't even have to access a search bar. They can watch serial killer documentaries. They can watch people being interviewed in police cells. They can watch what it's like to be interviewed. They don't have to even access that search bar. They don't need parental guidance to find them about the risks and danger in society. We need to make a difference to thousands of young people. We need to work preventatively to be able to start putting those messages in really early. Because where we are getting at the minute, it's too late. Have you ever, as an adult, decided you're going to learn something new? It's really hard. But actually, for young people, it's really easy. And we can get those messages in whilst their brains are still kind of willing to accept them. Young people tell me that the reason they're carrying knives is based around fear. It's based around the what if. It's based on what could happen. But actually, 2/3 of young people who carry a knife, when we have a look at the knife-free data, actually lost their life a couple of years ago for carrying their own knife. So just let that sink in. Their own knife killed them. They didn't set out to die. They didn't set out to kill somebody. They set out because everybody was saying you've got to have a knife in your pocket. And remember that street scenario that I played earlier? Something like that happens. What I tell young people is actually 99% of young people do not carry knives. That's a really powerful statistic when young people are telling me that everybody is carrying knives. Ofsted did a really good survey a few years ago, and what they did is they went into City London schools and they interviewed loads of young people and loads of teachers and head teachers. What we know is that children are safer in the schools. But when you have a look at kind of the schools kind of process, when young people are kind of behaving not in a manner that they would wish to, it's exclusion. Which then brings about those feelings of boredom, those feelings of isolation. Young people do not have those strong relations at home that we all had when we were younger. So what we're doing is we're taking their strong relationships away. What we're doing is we're pushing them into a world where they need to go and find a relationship. And maybe that's on the street. We need to start looking at preventative education. We need to start making a difference. I know my team worked with 31,500 young people last year, and it was around serious violence, it was around violence against women and girls. And at no time do I show any young people any images of disaster. I don't show them any images of weapons, of knives. Do I get challenged? All the time. I get challenged from my colleagues, I get challenged from my peers, I get challenged from kind of my friends. And actually, I get comments like, Mel, what you need to do is you need to get a medical room and we just need to throw blood everywhere. Why would you do that? I get comments like, maybe we should put a young person's face on a poster that says, do this and you will die. Or do this and this person was killed today. We have to be really, really careful of what young people are going through in relation to trauma, because all that will do is add an additional trauma. Have you ever done something scary? I know this week I've been on loads of roller coasters. I didn't particularly like it. I just thought it would be a cool thing to do. It's really scary. Teenagers are hardwired to do this. So recently I've project managed and developed an immersive knife crime centre. And at no time do we concentrate on the traumatic end of a young person's life. We look at what is happening in their world. We look at their reality and what is there now. And it's more of a facilitation, actually, because they're not going to learn from us. They're going to learn from their peers. So it's about having really open conversations with young people and getting to know what they are thinking and feeling. This room is a medical room. And actually, it would have been really easy for me to put a load of first aid stuff on the wall. But we spoke to loads of young people, and we surveyed them. And we spoke about what they could do and what we needed to do to be able to make an impact in this room. And now on the room, we have what's going to happen if somebody rings 999. What do they need to do if their best friend has a serious injury to keep them alive? And another fact that we have on the wall, which I absolutely love, is teenagers have 8 large milkshakes, McDonald's milkshakes, in their body of blood. I ask teenagers, and I ask adults actually, how much blood have you got in your body? And I get this, 1, 2, 3 pints, litres? Not really sure, but that's definitely what I get. Take 2.5 McDonald's milkshakes away, and you're going into a catastrophic bleed. And then it's a serious situation. Actual centre is based around 12 different rooms. And what we do is we concentrate on one room at a time and one task at a time. And we're able to have really open conversations. And we use kind of immersive education. And in that way, we can really think and feel about those, dispelling the myths, having a look at kind of removing that glamour, finding out about what social media is telling young people. The primary session is one of my favourite, and you can see I smile because I absolutely love these guys on the screen. They are my characters. But if you are aged between 9 and 11, effectively you enter that centre and you become that character. You find out what makes them drive, what's their hobbies, where do they live. They're just normal kids. And then as you go around the centre, they make different decisions. They make different choices. And you have to challenge the other characters that are in your group. It's really hard to challenge your friend. It's really hard to challenge somebody that you spend most of your day with or most of your life with. It's not hard to challenge a character that is made up that's next to you. And the impact of learning through these characters and using drama theory is really, really strong. And I know that getting those messages in really early will make a difference. This is our puzzle room. And it's been a journey, shall we say. But what I know is all young people are given a workbook. And young people will say, this is one of my favourite rooms, because it is a quiz, effectively. What I know, as an educator, is I've got loads of really important information behind each one of these panels. They taught them about laws, really quite hard to access laws, actually, and information that I want them to take away when they leave the centre. What the young people think they're doing is playing a game. And it's brilliant. And it allows the young person to be present in the moment. If you write something down, you're 70% more likely to remember. If you do something to get that information, it goes up by nearly 20%. So let's say 90% more likely to remember. So what young people think is a quiz, is a game, is something that's really going into their head. And I would say the impact in that room is really, really high due to the fact of how we do it. It allows young people to be really present in the moment. On all the slides I've seen, you would have known that there's lots of words on these slides. These words weren't my words. They were children's words. We interviewed lots and lots of young people, and they told us what they needed to know, what they needed to do. And they have gone onto the walls, and those young people were invited back to have a look. So in 12 years of creating preventative education programs, I've always had children around the table. It doesn't matter in what stage I'm at. In actual fact, young people name this centre. And what happens if my team are kind of out in a school and they say, actually, do you know what, this isn't right anymore. This isn't how we're living. We change it, and it's changed by the week after. Every single word in this centre was given to us by young people. I see adults developing preventative education programs all the time, but they're developed for adults. Young people do not access information the same as adults. They access it differently. And we need to start making sure that children are around the table when we're creating these packages. And I know that we've got to put the laws in there. I know that we've got to put the facts and the information. But what we need to get better is how young people can retain that when we're working in an adult world. We've got to do it together. We've got to work together. I love this quote. Isolation is the enemy of improvement. We can't do it on our own. You can't sail a ship on your own. You can't fly a plane on your own. You've got to work with other people to make a difference. I've had some incredible people working around me while we've developed this centre, and thank goodness, because it wouldn't have launched had I not had them with me and on that journey. And young people are included in that. We need to remember that data and evidence is great, but we need to start working harder. We need to start working with bigger groups. And I think I said earlier, my team spoke to 31,500 young people last year. I'm not talking in big auditoriums. They're not talking to 1,000 young people at a time. They're talking to under 30 young people or under 4 young people. So we're getting that information. People cannot say that we are not making an impact with those young people. And I get comments like, well, actually, Mel, you live in an area where knife crime statistics are really low. Shouldn't we try? We need to concentrate on the beginning of a young person's story. We need to get in early. And we need to not to stop sharing those safety messages that I spoke about right at the beginning. We as adults need to take responsibility to change young people's lives and not build a culture based around self.